Car nerds love sprouting stats. Did you know they've made over 30 million Volkswagen Golfs? That's nothing. The Porsche 911's been in series production for over 50 years. Well, the Saab 750 was the first car to be offered with seatbelts as standard. But amongst all of that, there's been another car setting some stats of its own. It was the first car in its class to win a Car of the Year award. It was also the first car in its class to be offered with a diesel engine. It's also still the only city car ever to have reached base camp of Everest. And it's been around for over 30 years. Fiat's humble Panda Mini MPV may not be top of most people's lists, but it has a history of solid innovation, and in Europe, it's a popular choice, helping it reach sales of over 6 million units. This is the third generation Panda, and we're driving the entry-level pop version. I am an unrepentant fan of this car, except when it's fitted with Fiat's awful MTA gearbox, and so I was quite excited to hear there was a new one. It is an easy thing to like, with its friendly face and its uncomplicated design that gives it its own sense of style. The Fiat Panda is now bigger than it's ever been, and that kind of concerns me. Any bigger and it'll start taking on the proportions of a small van, and that makes me think it'll be less fun to drive. By way of comparison, the previous generation Panda included the 100 HP performance version, which wasn't perfect, but it was still a good laugh. I can't imagine any version of this Panda, with its bigger dimensions, being nearly as nimble or as fun. That said, what you get is a thoroughly modern-looking thing, even with the plastic wheel caps on our test unit, and a car that does a fairly good job of disguising its utility genes. So, if the theme on the outside is simple style, the theme on the inside is squares with rounded edges. Everywhere. On the parcel shelf, in the instrument cluster, for the controls for the radio, for the air conditioning switches, the door handles, the speaker covers, and the headrests, all get the same rounded edge square treatment. Put that shapely fixation aside though, and it's a nice place in which to drive. There is a better sense of space and a higher driving position than you might expect in a small car, and the way they've packaged the gear shift and the handbrake means they've made extra room for more storage spots. The only downside, there's no lockable cubbyhole. Besides that particularly South African concern, it's a comfortable and usable interior. The boot is one of the biggest in its class, and with all the seats that can be folded in the folded position, you get 2 meters of load space. There is only one engine choice in the Panda lineup, a 1200 4-cylinder with 51 kilowatts and 102 newton meters. They haven't gone with the current turbo trend, so what you lack in acceleration and power, you get in good economy figures, 5.2 liters per 100 k's and 120 grams of CO2 per kilometer. With one engine comes one gearbox, and thankfully it's not that MTA I was moaning about earlier. It's a 5-speed manual. All Panda versions are fitted as standard with 4 airbags, as well as ABS and brake assist. So now you might be thinking, well, it's only a 1200, no turbo, only 51 kilowatts. This car must be about as enjoyable as a week in Vernieuwpan. But actually, it's not bad. It's got decent low-down torque, it feels good on the highway, and it never feels difficult or underpowered. For such meager figures, the Panda just about outdoes itself, and it's especially impressive up here on the reef. Drive it like a normal human being and it does the job just fine. The ride setup is good as well. Despite its taller stance, it stays planted, and rougher surfaces don't seem to unsettle it too much. And that just about sums up the Panda. Your first impression might be that it's a mom's taxi with a small engine, but once you spend some time with it, you find that it's a well thought out, well put together, enjoyable drive. And it looks good too. And at 140,000 Rand, it manages to do all of that on a bit of a budget. It's more stylish than a Toyota Avanza, more fun than a Kia Soul, and it's cheaper than both. And the price includes a 3-year, 100,000 kilometer maintenance plan. So, from very ordinary on paper to very good on tar, the Fiat Panda's got the right combination of a good drive, good versatility, and a measure of style. Just like previous generations, it is a car with a lot of character. The 1200 motor doesn't benefit from a turbo, but it does an impressive job of delivering good power for an easy drive, even on the reef. The third generation Panda crams about as much style as you can get into an MPV and has the versatility to match. The only thing we can complain about is a lack of a lockable cubbyhole.